सलामकुम, नमस्कार। कोई सिख भाई हो तो सत श्री अकाल और वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू। हिंदी और उर्दू में मैं बोल लेता हूँ, मगर हमारी ये बदकिस्मत है कि माँ बाप ने अंग्रेजी मीडियम में भेज दिया बचपन से, और मैं दक्षिण भारत से हूँ, तो इसलिए मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि अंग्रेजी में ही बोल लें, तो नहीं कि बीच में ना कुछ गड़बड़ हो जाए। So nice to see a beautiful gathering here. Lots of young people. Youngsters को देखते ही दिल खुश हो जाता है। पहले मैं डिग्निटरीज को सब रेस्पेक्ट दे के ड्यू रेस्पेक्ट। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल प्रोफेसर अजीज बानो who opened the session, Professor Tariq Mansoor, Vice Chancellor of AMU Aligarh, who gave a very good discussion on Dara Shikoh and also guidelines for how to move forward. And Professor Ms. Rajuddin Qureshi, who is the President of the India Islamic Cultural Center, New Delhi, said a few sweet words, and before I came back he had finished. Just went out. His Excellency Mahdi Shahrukhi, Honorable Consul General Islamic Republic Iran, Hyderabad, और जनाब सैयद सलमान चिश्ती, young man but good friend for a long time, उन्होंने बड़ी अच्छी तरह से he gave us a very good talk on getting people together, unity के बारे में। वो यूनिटी अहद वो नहीं, ये दूसरी ह्यूमन यूनिटी के बारे में उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा दिखाया। और आफ्टर ऑल ये सजाद नशीन गद्दी नशीन ऑफ राजा मोइनुद्दीन चिश्ती अजमेर, सो आई एक्सपेक्टेड दैट यू विल स्पीक वेल। इंटरनेशनल फोरम्स में भी मिलता हूँ कभी कभी, बहुत अच्छा बोलते हैं। और सच पीपल आर रिक्वायर्ड टुडे इन द प्रेजेंट सिचुएशन इन द वर्ल्ड टू कीप एवरीथिंग टुगेदर। एंड मोर देन दैट, ही इज अ यंग मैन, लॉन्ग वे टू गो। सो आई होप द ब्लेसिंग्स ऑफ द सुप्रीम बीइंग that you continue your good work. So, Professor Syed Anil Hassan, Vice Chancellor, Manuu, who I have been seeing for the last 6 months since I became the Chancellor, and see a lot of change, see change, I should say. Sir, I am not flattering you, really. And last but not the least, I must mention Professor Shahid Naukhegazmi, who has been conducting the proceedings so well that I think even we don't need to speak much. तो मैं सुन रहा था, it's really very informative. अभी ये कॉन्फ्रेंस जो है मजमा उल बहरीन ऑफ दारा शिकोह, दिस इज द टाइटल गिवन टू द कॉन्फ्रेंस। नॉट दैट दिस इज द ओनली बुक दैट दारा शिकोह रोट, देयर आर अ नंबर ऑफ टेक्स्ट बुक्स रिटन बाय दारा शिकोह। आई एम ऑल्सो, बिफोर आई प्रोसीड, very glad to see Krishna Gopal ji sitting here. I hope he doesn't pick up some points later and pinpoint it. He himself is a scholar and he is well known in most circles. I have also known him for some years. Thank you, sir. आप हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी में आए। Now, as I said, Majma ul Bahrain is not the only text that Dara Shikoh wrote. There are various other textbooks, small textbooks. One was released just now. वो जो है सफीनतुल औलिया, So Pinnatul audio is about great saints, and apart from that he also wrote a translation of the Upanishads, which he got done in Kashmir, getting 100 scholars together in Parimahal near Srinagar, where they spent a whole year working on this and brought out this beautiful translation of the Upanishad. They named it Upanikhat. 50 Upanishads, I think. And it was through this that the Western world by and large came to realize that in this country, where they thought people were wearing cowpeens and walking around, there was this much culture unheard of anywhere in the world. So a Greek translation appeared, which was called Upanikhat. There is also a French translation, but I am trying to figure out where to get a copy of this French translation. Next month I am going to Paris. I have arranged a personal meeting with Honorable President Macron, and I think I will ask him if he can help me to find the French translation. It will be very nice to have a French. Syria. Syria Akbar is of Upanishad. That is the Upanishad. He said that is the greatest writing on the supreme reality. Akbar, the greatest. So, what we should also remember that Dara Shikoh, even though he was a prince, he called himself a fakir from the very beginning. If you look at his biography, he says this fakir was born in Kashmir. So even though he lived with royalty and his mind was always that of a fakir, of a religious mendicant. And his teacher in the Sufi side was none other than Mullah Shah of Kashmir. And Mullah Shah's teacher was Mian Mir. There's an interesting story about Mian Mir. When the Golden Temple was about to be built in Amritsar, the Guru, the then Guru Arjan Singh, I think, he was asked, who can lay the foundation stone for the Golden Temple? He said, there is no better saint here than Mian Mir Colony. So the foundation stone was laid by him. Now, these great people have been guided by the ancient wisdom of their own religion and also the ancient wisdom of this most ancient country. But 2000 years ago, because we are dealing with Majma'ul Bahari, mingling of the two oceans of Vedanta and the Islamic teachings, particularly the Quran, Shri. 2000 years ago, the Upanishad said something, the Vedas said something very beautiful. I think that is the root from which this whole thing is developed, bringing together. They said in Sanskrit, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vedanti. There is one truth, but the wise call it by different names. 2000 years ago, I don't think, when was Dara? Came from there. Now to illustrate something about this, I would like to give you a little story that popularly considered to have come from the great saint, teacher, scholar Jalaluddin Rumi. Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, who Majnavi is very famous. There's another text of his which is not so popular but which contains the essence of wisdom. It's called Fihi Ma Fihi, which could be translated as it is and yet it is not. Now this is for Vedantins to figure out what it actually means. Now this story is supposed to have come to us popularly from Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, but it has its sources in ancient Jain philosophy also. Maulana Rumi probably picked it up and gave it a different direction because he was so wide in his outlook. This story is about three blind men who went to figure out what an elephant is. Blind men. आंखें नहीं दिख रही थी. Because they wanted to figure out what an elephant is. See, people went. One touched the leg of the elephant and said that an elephant is like a pillar. It's huge and it moves and it is rough, and if you go too close you might be trampled. Definition of an elephant. Another blind man touched the trunk of the elephant and said the elephant is like a rubber hose. Those days there was no rubber, whatever hose, and it moves and it makes hissing noises sometimes. If you go too close, you might be lifted off the ground and dashed on the elephant. Definition of an elephant. The third blind man went to the back of the elephant, touched its tail, which bristles and constantly moving, and said an elephant is a constantly moving tube with bristles. If you go too close, you might be slapped on the face. Then began the big fight between which definition of the elephant is correct. It came to physical combat, as it happens sometimes, we know that. And that is when a man appeared who was not blind and who could see. So he said, just a minute, what is this fight about? So this guy said, no, the elephant is this. The other guy said, no, the elephant is this. Third guy said, the elephant is this. He said, just a minute. You are right, and you are also right. So they said, how can this be possible? How can all of us be right? We are having different definitions. He said, because I have eyes and I can see. The elephant is what you are saying, yes, but also much more than what you can see, because you are blind. So, the great rishis, the great saints, the great Sufis, the great teachers, they were not blind, they had eyes, they saw. And they saw that it is an undefinable thing that we are trying to define. And we use words of the language which we know, but it is much beyond all our definitions. This is the Supreme Being, and we have defined it through. So therefore, great people like Dara, Shikoh, either he saw or he met people who saw. And it is from them that he gathered that the truth is infinite. There is none comparable unto him. And yet people keep defining in different ways, which is necessary for us to live in this world in different societies. I agree. So this great understanding comes only when one is spiritually depth, one has spiritual depth. If you go to Ajmer, according to Orthodox Islam, music is banned. Yes. But if you go to Nizamuddin, Dargah in Delhi, or if you go to Khaja Nizamuddin, Khaja Nizamuddin Chishti's tomb, Darbar in Ajmer, you can see khawals going on. So how come? Because these great saints discovered that music properly used in a proper purpose may take you to higher levels of consciousness. It's called sama. It's not called ordinary music. So what all I'm trying to say is, when we talk about human beings, please consider that human beings will be born from different races, from different places, from different families, different colors. But we come from the same source. Nobody can deny that we come from the same source. Therefore, this is the important that we study the message of Dara Shikoh. I won't go into his political career because he was killed for apostasy. But I think it was a political. I won't even go into the question of what would have happened if Dara Shikoh became the Mughal emperor. We will not get into this. These are for historians to look into. I am only seeing that this coming together of the two oceans is still worth looking into. We should understand, we should look into both and we should live together in this country, especially, where they declared 1,000 years ago that the truth is one. We call it by different names. Once again, I appreciate and thank the Vice Chancellor and all the people here who are behind this conference for having organized this beautiful conference, and I hope that it will continue and we can solve problems through love and affection rather than picking up arms. This is my humble request and my humble prayer. May the Supreme God help us all to move towards peace. And let us practice what we say when we greet each other. Salam alaikum. May the peace of Allah be on you. If you say in Sanskrit, it says Shanti, 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 peace. And the Jews who lived in Israel say Shalom, it means peace. So let's live in peace and go together and remember that we are all raised from the same source as human beings. Dhanyavad. Thank you. Shukriya.